Welcome back to GG's Weekend Watch. We had a holiday last week, didn't we? We were so busy enjoying Cheltenham, but glad to be back. No owners or spectators at Cheltenham, but we are getting them soon on the flat. We'll be getting spectators back next week, so excited for that. Obviously, onto the flat season we go. We've got that to look forward to. And I really do. I hope that it won't be long before we can all go back. Be nice to know that owners are back on track. But before then, we'll do our best to help you enjoy the racing from your sofa. I'm sure the guys can give you plenty of winners again for this weekend. And we've got loads to choose from, haven't we? We've got Doncaster, our first turf meeting. The Brocklesby is always an exciting spectacle. Lots of errant 2-year-olds. Of course, we've got the jumps as well at Newbury, and we've got some more weather action that's looking good at Kempton as well. So loads to choose from. We're going to start with Doncaster. The first race for us is the 2 o'clock, which is the Doncaster Mile. Guys, I think there's a very strong forecast headwind, so perhaps that's going to affect horses going forward. So are we going to look for things that want to be held up at Doncaster, Andrew?
Yeah, you missed a good segue there, Leonna. Like, talking of errant juveniles, here's Daryl Carter and Andrew Mayor.
Or because of the noise before, talking of windy people, Andrew, what do you think of this one?
Okay, stop it now. Come on. Yeah, I did have a look at the weather forecast, and yeah, the wind sort of the straight at Doncaster, I think, faces west-south, sort of west-northwest. The wind's probably going to be into their faces. It does seem to be forecasted recede slightly in the afternoon, so it might not be so bad. But yeah, generally speaking, you expect them to race an arrowhead formation down the middle of the straight course, favouring those who sort of get cover in the back of that sort of arrowhead in the middle. So yeah, draw wise, it's going to be tricky with knowing where's best in the spring mile and in the Lincoln. But more of that later. So yeah, this race, a mile on the straight course, listed race. Interesting that Andrew Balding's Bounce the Blues heads the market. We don't get many fillies and mares running in this race. I think we've only had 6 in the history of this race. And although 3 of those have placed 14 to 1, 10 to 1, 9 to 2, so I wouldn't let that put you off, despite the fact there haven't been any winners. The one I was quite interested in, though, was the Willie Haggis runner Montatam, who was last seen running in the Cambridgeshire. Well beaten that day, but was drawn on the wrong side of the track, finishing 19th of 27. Now, he's been gelded since he was gelded before winning first time out last season. Seemed to improve for that. Aside from that Cambridgeshire run, he was first or second in all his starts, and I thought he would be the one. He's got the running style, probably ridden patiently, I would imagine, that is going to be suited by Doncaster, given that forecast headwind. And although he's one of the market leaders, I think he's 4 to 1 joint favourite with the firm who's betting on it. But that seems fair enough. So yeah, Montatam for me for Willie Haggis.
I thought it was Montatham, but either or.
It probably is. Yeah, if it's a choice between you pronouncing it right and me pronouncing it right, you're long odds on.
Daryl?
Yeah, tricky race to kick off the season, really. Yeah. I think it's worth noting that this is going to probably be a bit of a fact-finding mission for me this weekend. Tread lightly, have few bets, and really just a bit of intel gathering. But the horse I was going to side with in this race was going to take a stab at One Elcano for Kevin Ryan. This horse has been a bit tripless last season as a 3-year-old, but that didn't really come without, its plethora of strong form. 3rd in the Dante, 4th in Hampton Court. His sole attempt at this mile trip recorded his best RPR of 111, and it came when he was 5th in the 2,000 Guineas. He was only beaten 4 lengths that day. It was his best performance to date. Yeah. That also came after a long break, so that suggests he can go well fresh. Thought that was a good angle. He returns to Doncaster, where he was a very good 3rd to Threat. As a 2-year-old in the Group 2 Champagne Stakes over 7 furlongs. He was beaten 11th, but he was green as grass that day. He didn't really know what he was doing, and he stuck to the task really well. I think there's just an air of a little bit of unfinished business with One Elcano. I think he's got a good race in him. I think this mile is what he wants, a strongly run mile. He's going to get that today. It's going to be very difficult this weekend to find horses that can go well fresh first time up. So that will be the angle I'll be looking into for these flat races. And I thought One Elcano, who's arguably got the strongest piece of form with that 5th in the Guineas behind Kamiko and Pinatubo and Wichita. I thought he was a fair price at around 8-1. I think he is. So yeah, 1 Alcano for me.
Yeah, each way money as well, isn't he? 8-1 is a bit of value. The next at Doncaster. We've got that Spring Mile coming up at 2:30, and this is another one. Good luck trying to find the winner of this, but obviously that also means there's a lot of value to be had. I actually like one in here. I thought Acquitted is really interesting. Has had the cruelest chop of them all quite recently, but I think that probably could be. He has. I don't think anyone would enjoy it, would they? I do think it will be the making of him. I think he's a good horse. Go on.
Well, I thought you were going to say that was my forfeit for losing out to Daryl in the Cheltenham tipping competition. To test the theory whether anyone's going to enjoy the cruelest cut of all.
Yeah, you know what? It's not a bad idea. We'll come back to that. Yeah, he's got some really strong form in handicaps as well. And I thought when he beat Mishriff, that was a while ago now, though, at Newbury. Does look like a better horse. I just think that they've struggled to kind of get the best out of him. But hopefully being gelded would have helped him. I don't think he would need to improve much to win that 235. I do like Acquitted. But he is quite strong in the betting, Daryl.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I struggled to go through this race and find anything that I thought was probably £10 ahead of their mark or thrown in or, yeah. I just feel with Acquitted, he didn't really fulfill his early promise that he showed as a 3-year-old into his 3-year-old season. But, it's definitely there to see, that's for sure. He returns from a lengthy absence here. So there are negatives with him at the top of the market. I think 7-1 is fair enough, to be honest. This hopefully would not be the strongest of contests he'll be facing this season. I just felt out of all the horses in this field, he was the one that could end up rating a lot higher than this towards the back end of the season. Like you say, he's been gelded now. The form of his Newbury run as a 2-year-old works out extremely well when he was given £6 to lots of Mishriff Favourite Moon. Gelded, he could prove a different proposition. He would be the one I'd be happy to take a chance on, even at the 7-1. I wasn't overly confident about a lot of the other horses in here. So, yeah, Acquitted by default, really.
Yeah. Acquitted, I agree with. Andrew?
Yeah, tricky one because of the draw. I mean, the last 5 winners of this race were drawn 8 or lower. So it'll be interesting to see, how this pans out, whether you want to be one side or the other, or whether there's very little in it. And interesting also that you're talking about Acquitted being gelded since his last run. In the last 10 years, had you bet all the gelded runners, you'd have found the winner 4 times from 17 qualifiers and made a profit of £32 to a £1 level stake. So winners at up to 20-1 on that system. There was only 1 qualifier last year. That was a winner at 7-1. And there are 5 qualifiers this year, Acquitted being one of them. Another way to narrow the field is to look at the 4-year-olds. In the last 10 years, if you backed all the 4-year-olds, you'd have made a profit of £96 to a £1 level stake, although that's thanks to 250-1 winners. In the same period, 5-year-olds are just 1 from 53, and those aged 6 and 7 are 0 from 51. So, that's another thing worth looking at as well. I was going to side with Amazement here for Richard Fahey. It's Doncaster, it's the Lincoln meeting. He's a trainer who does particularly well here. This one's coming out of stall 2. So if those low draw stats in recent years are to be replicated, then he could be well drawn here. Although I've not looked at the sort of the full pace map and, where the pace is going to be on which side or the other at the moment. But yeah, Amazement's been running well, very rarely out of the first 2 or 3, and open to improvement over this trip. Seemed to appreciate stepping up to a mile last season. So yeah, Amazement for me, 12-1, I think.
Yeah, that's each way value, isn't it? Amazement for Andrew then, and me and Daryl both on Acquitted, and we're both even more strong about his chances now after those good starts from Andrew. So I'm going to definitely stick with that one. The 3-10 at Doncaster is the Lincoln, and as you'd expect, a lot of these are having their version of the season. Not that many who are coming into this with runs behind them. We've got the sharing of the licence, haven't we, between Tady and John Gosden on show with Haqeeqy. I think that's interesting. And you do wonder with things like this if they've tried, to find a horse to set up to get that partnership off to a really good start, good publicity, etc. Obviously, Benoit looks like a basically a free £7 at the minute as well, doesn't he? So probably the obvious choice, but I think Haqeeqy is very interesting and perhaps for me maybe the most likely winner. What do we think, Daryl?
Yeah, I quite like one in this, but this is very tricky. That the three at the top of the market, Eastern World, Haqeeqy, Brentford Hope, and my selection, King Ottakar, could all have upwards of £10 in hand, really, going forward this season. They've all done. They've all got plenty to like about them. But King Ottakar is the one I'm definitely going to side with. He's the one I like the most in the field. He caught the eye in his last run of the season back in October in the Balmoral. He was 6th of 18 off a pound high mark. Now, I can't quite believe he was dropped a pound for that. All the action developed over the far side rail and favoured those drawn low. The 5 home in front of him were drawn 7, 4, 2, 10 and 5, and Gregaines was the one that was drawn in stall 10. Now he was immediately taken over to that far side rail straight out of the gates, and it wasn't until the 2 furlong pole that King Ottakar from stall 22 or 23 decided to go over and join that group, and then got denied a clear run in the closing stages. He did the best of those from off the pace. He finished very strongly. It was an excellent run, it really was. Everything in that Balmoral, bar 2 runners, are rated higher than him. So 16 out of 18 horses are all rated higher than him. Including that run, though, he's only run over a mile on 4 occasions. Once as a 2-year-old in the Group 1 Futurity. An excellent 5th in the Group 3 Sovereign Stakes at Salisbury, when he was beaten just 1 3/4 lengths, but he finished with loads of running left there. That was a really excellent run behind Kick On. Yeah. He's got plenty of bits and pieces of form that suggest he should be much better than his mark of 99. I just think this mile, a strongly run mile, is definitely going to suit him. He can go well fresh. There's lots and lots to like about him. I mean, look, you're going to need to have about £10 in hand to win this, I do think. But you can go through any piece of his form and find any of the runners rated in and around him are well into the 100s. I just think 99 is more than fair for King Ottakar. So, I quite like him. They put the cheek pieces on for the first time. It could just sneak out a little bit more improvement. Yeah, King Ottakar for me.
Yeah, it's his first one for ages, isn't it, actually, getting into below 100. So King Ottakar then could be well handicapped for Daryl. Andrew, what's anything you like in there?
Yeah, well, we get some clues from the Spring Mile regarding the draw, but in recent years, the Spring Mile draw has not been replicated in the Lincoln. It's tended to be low in the Spring Mile, high in the Lincoln, which is not helpful at all. Now, the horse I like and the profile I like here is that of Brunch. Now, Brunch doesn't like bottomless ground. He's not a bottomless Brunch. Boom. And
No.
Sorry. Love it. Have you got that written down?
I've only just thought of that. You can use that, Leonna, if you're on Sky TV on Saturday covering this one. So basically, first time he went into the tracker after his debut when he was 5th here over 7 furlongs on heavy ground. He's performed miracles to finish as close as he has, because he's bucking and kicking after the races started. He looks like a rodeo horse, absolute lunatic. And then he's had one other juvenile outing, winning at Newcastle on the straight 7 furlongs. First time out last season. He's run at that early Newcastle meeting in June. He's won straight mile, so he's proved his liking for straight track again. And after that, he's then gone to Haydock, returning to turf. He was up against a pace bias. It's a small field Haydock race, favoured those who were on the front end. He's tried to come from the back. He's met trouble in running. He's finished 4th. But after that, first, second by a short head. He's then ended the season with 2 runs on deep going, soft at Redcar, finishing 3rd in listed company, and then heavy at Newmarket, running okay, but not great on very, very deep ground. So basically, in his life, he's had 6 runs on good to soft or quicker going, all the all-weather, 4 wins, a short head second, and then unlucky in running 4th. And I like the fact that he likes straight tracks. He's won first time out before. So I thought Brunch with the ground in his favour from Michael Dodds was the way to go here. Stall 15. We're guessing as to whether that's going to be an advantage or not. But 16 to 1, I'll be prepared to take the chance.
Okay. And you're opposite ends of the track as well, aren't you? So you're on Brunch out of stall 15. Daryl on King Ottakar out of stall 4, and I'm somewhere in the middle with Haqeeqy. That's the 3:10. Our next race is the last one we're going to cover from Doncaster, is that 3:45. I actually know the owners that own Just Frank in this. Their family actually own my livery yard where I keep my eventer. And I know for a fact that they turned down a real good amount of money for this horse. So in that sense, it'd be nice for them to win. Summergand, I think, is an obvious one, isn't he? He'd have lots in his favour, straight track and fit from recent spins on the all-weather. But again, a difficult enough race. And will we have got some clues from earlier races, perhaps, Andrew?
Yeah, Just Frank's a very interesting one. He was a big improver since gelded last year, 2 wins and a second from 3 starts. That second coming here at Donny. And Brando, of course, a Group 1 winner running in this in this listed contest. Now, I'm actually going to side with the other Kevin Ryan runner, Emiratiana. Now, Kevin Ryan's last 5 runners in this race have produced 4 second places. It's a race he tends to target. He's been a little bit unlucky with it on occasions, but Emiratiana has been gelded and had a wind operation since we saw him last time. I keep wanting to call him or her because she's called Anna, obviously. But yeah, she's gone well fresh in the past. She was a winner first time out as a juvenile, quite rare for Kevin Ryan. And then last season she ran in the was it the Abernant Stakes at Newmarket and finished 3rd to Oxted. And she was drawn away from the favoured rail that day. That was a run you could upgrade. And I thought there'd be more to come from her this year. Now that she's been gelded, now she's had the wind operation. That's a positive angle backing Kevin Ryan runners first time after the wind op. And I thought at the prices, maybe Emirati could get one over on Brando. I love Brando, but he is, a 9-year-old now, and obviously not the horse he was. And he makes the market for me. I think he'll run well without winning. I prefer Emiratiana.
Yeah, weird that you say that. We had a discussion about this the other day, that people call horses, like if the owner of it's called Emma and they'll call it Emma something, you just immediately think it's a girl because it's got Emma in the name. It's very frustrating. So you end up saying she all the time and then it's a he. So not helpful for Emirati. Anna, Daryl?
I thought Summergand was reliable to give his running, race fit. Could be a big advantage this time of the year. I thought he was an excellent second at Wolverhampton, actually giving tons of weight, £15 to the improving 4-year-old Clive Cox's Streamline, who runs on the Kempton card on the Saturday. He's £7 better off with Nahar, who's come out of here. That was an earlier note. I just thought it was quite obvious, though, like you mentioned, and I wanted to try and look away from the obvious and then see if I can exploit something at a bit bigger price. Came down on Royal Commando. This horse stepped up to 7 furlongs twice last season. It just didn't really work out. It goes well fresh by all accounts. He was 4th in the Group 1 Commonwealth Cup, beaten just 4 lengths by Golden Horde on seasonal return last year. The year before that, he was beaten by Pierre Lapin by 2 lengths at Newbury off the back of a short break in the Group 2 Mill Reef. Just get the feeling this is another horse with a little bit of unfinished business. He's relatively unexposed over 6 furlongs. This is technically a drop in class over this trip for him, albeit he was beaten at Deauville. But I just get the feeling this Royal Commando, they've been messing around with him a little bit and they're not too sure what his correct trip is. I think it's this 6 furlongs. I think fresh might be the time to catch him. He's a huge price. I think he's 20 to 1 for a horse that finished 4th in the Commonwealth Cup on his seasonal reappearance last year. I think that's a big price. So Royal Commando for me.
Okay, Royal Commando 20 to 1 then for Daryl in the 345. Andrew siding with Emirati, Anna, it's a boy. And I'm going to stick with the obvious, which is a bit boring. Summergand, I think, got everything to suit and nice straight track for Summergand. That's it for our scheduled races at Doncaster. Do either of you like anything else there?
No. I'll just be a very quick mention to the first race at Doncaster on Sunday, a 7 furlong handicap that Richard Fahey's got a great record in. So, yeah, he's got 2 runners in that at the 4-day stage. So just bear that in mind if you're looking for something to have a couple of quid on Sunday.
Daryl?
Nothing for me at Doncaster.
Brilliant. That's Doncaster wrapped up then. We move on to the all-weather. We got Kempton next, and the 145, which is the listed contest. It's a Magnolia Stakes and a smallish field, short price favourite. Is it going to be quite that straightforward, Andrew?
Yeah, very probably. This is John and Thady Gosden again. A horse who's proven in a listed company, proven in small fields, proven on the all-weather, and I thought was going to take the beating here. I wasn't a huge fan of the Haggis trained second favourite. It was sort of last win.
Haylock.
Yeah, his last win came in handicap company. So yeah, I did look at the others and trying to find something sort of each way to put up against the odds-on favourite, but I kept coming back to the same horses and was struggling to beat the jolly here. So going to be very boring and go with the market.
No, I definitely agree. That's kind of what I thought when we saw that we were doing that contest. Daryl?
Yeah, I completely agree with Andrew. I had exactly the same feelings going through the race. I thought Haylock had a fair bit to make up with Global Giant on their Newbury run. For all Haylock was held up, off the pace that day. It didn't really suit him. But you keep trying to take Global Giant on. He's race fit now after that run in Saudi. He comes out well clear on ratings here. I couldn't take him on. So the Favs probably win.
Yeah, all think the same then in that 145. The next one at Kempton is the 215, where, of course, we've got the late great Hamdan Al Maktoum has got a couple of horses that right up at the top of the market in there. Do you want to start us off in that 215, Daryl?
Yeah, I quite like this race. I do quite like this race. Al Zarakan, is he still running? Have you got odds for him there? Yeah, 6-4 Fav. Sorry, the odds are just changing as the decks came out. Al Zarakan looks a really nice horse. He looks like he's going to be a group horse in time, no doubt. And he looks really well handicapped on his Lingfield run last time in December, beating Pirate King. He had plenty in hand that day. £5 rise for that is more than fair. He's definitely the one to beat in this race. I don't really want to back anything at 6-4, really. I'm going to side with Dark Pine, actually. I'm going to keep the faith with him. I think he's open to further improvement. I think
like
that...
Dark Pine.
Yeah, we do. I like that run at Wolverhampton last time. I think he was valued for more than an £8 rise there. The second Arish came out and bolted up not long ago. He's now £10 higher, rated £1 higher than the selection. So on that basis alone, Dark Pine looks well treated off the mark of 93. The third from that race went out next time and nearly won as well, beating ahead. Blinkers are retained, 2 for 2 in the blinkers for this trainer. The trip, going up in trip, I think is a big positive. This was one of the reasons that I backed him at Chelmsford or Wolverhampton last time, step up in trip. I think going up even further in trip is definitely going to suit him. I think he's a 100 rated horse all day long, in my opinion. I would fear the favourite, so it wouldn't be a very, very strong bet, but I do think Dark Pine, if you can get 5-1 and play him each way, I don't think he's going to be out of the frame. And I think this long home straight at Kempton is definitely going to suit him as well.
Yeah, we like Dark Pine, don't we? He's looking like a good horse for the future. Andrew, do you like anything in that 215?
Yeah, the funny thing about this race is it's a mile 3, but the draws had a major impact over the years. When we talk about the draw, we tend to talk about sprint races or the straight mile, as we have done with the Lincoln and the Spring Mile. Yeah. But a mile 3 at Kempton is a big advantage to be drawn low. And in this race, in the last 10 years, had we just backed all the horses in stalls 1, 2, and 3 each way, we'd have made a good profit. 15 of the 30 have finished in the first 3. So in terms of the place pot, just backing those is going to be the way to get through it. Certainly has been for the last 10 years. Now, if you only looked at the 4 and 5 year olds drawn 1, 2, or 3, 14 of the 22 were in the first 3. So I'm looking at this from a draw perspective each way. And you've got Dark Pine in 7, you've got Almaguer in 6, and Al Zarquan in 5. So, it doesn't sound bad, but imagine if that was Chester and you were drawing 5, 6, or 7, you'd be a bit worried, wouldn't you? So I'm looking at Master the Stars for Ed Dunlop, a horse who's very rarely out the first 3, as an each way possibility, around about 7 or 8-1. And with a couple of sort of big price 6-year-olds drawn 1 and 3, maybe we'll extend that low draw to store 4 for United Front, who's never finished out of the first 2 on the all-weather, and has proved very consistent since joining Mick Appleby, and he's been nibbled at 8-1 into 7-1 with William Hill for this race when the prices came out. So I'll be looking at backing Master the Stars and United Front each way against the front 3 in the betting here.
Yeah, I was at Newcastle when this United Front actually won, and he ran quite well a few times for Josephine, and I said to her, he's a massive horse as well, and I said looks like a nice big horse, and I just don't know whether he's a little bit keen. I think he's actually better over a stiff mile. He's going up in trip again, so I know he only got beaten a short way last time, but I just don't know. You know, he's a big horse and he pulls a bit too hard. But we'll see. That's United front then. So fair few in there for Andrew. I think I'd probably stick with Dark Pine as well. He's a horse that I like the look of. And Daryl likes Dark Pine as well. Obviously, loads of other races at Kempton. Do you like anything else at Kempton, Andrew?
Yeah, I love this Masonic, the Charles Hill Sprinter, running in the 2:45. I've tipped him up in Racing and Football Outlook when he won here on his comeback last month. Still wondering why I didn't tip him on GG or actually back him myself. He was a big drifter who won at 9-1. He's basically pinged out, made all. He's not brilliantly drawn in stall 7, but he's probably the pace angle in the race again. And he's 3 from 6 on the all-weather now. And
he's not 9-1 now.
No, that's right. He's 5-2 favourite. 5-2 favourite with the firmer betting on this. So all those 6 runs came at Kempton, and 4 of them over 7 furlongs. He's 2 from 2 over course and distance, and I think he'll just ping and go here, and he'll be very, very hard to catch. That's Masonic.
Okay, Masonic and 2:45. Darryl, would you like anything else at Kempton?
No. Let's go over to Newbury.
Yeah, okay. Darryl's favourite. That's it then on the all-weather, and as I said earlier, we've got Newbury as well, haven't we? So moving on to the jumping, specifically for Daryl, we've gone here. The 250 then, good looking novices hurdle. We've got the lightly raced Good Ball currently heading the betting for this. And as you're chomping at the bit, Daryl, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed actually with Good Ball last time at Newbury. He was readily brushed aside by Gal Roder, who had reversed the previous course form with him. That was slightly disappointing for me. He's going up in trip now. He's going to be very popular. He's a nice horse. He's only a 4-year-old. He's only had 3 starts. What mark of 131 could definitely underestimate him going forward. Of the rest, I think Hudson de Grugy is poorly handicapped. Hooper is poorly handicapped. One True King is poorly handicapped. Mount Windsor is poorly handicapped on a mark of 144. He's done some very good time figures. Sometimes Always is poorly handicapped, and Press Your Luck is poorly handicapped. There's only one horse in this field that I think has got a fantastic chance and could have any amount in hand. And that is Minella Tara off a mark of 118 for Fergal O'Brien. This horse ran a blinding race last time to pick up a horse called Can You Call at Southwell. Made all the running, got out slightly outpaced, and then stayed on really strongly in the closing stages to pick up that smart horse. I think that's going to be a good horse going forward, that Can You Call for Evan Williams. Previously, he had run a very good time figure behind Witness Protection, rated 130. I reckon that Can You Call is going to win on handicap debut if he gets anything below 125. So the fact that Minella Tara is on a mark of 118 here is quite frankly ridiculous. But the time before at this course on heavy ground behind Galley Hill, Minella Tara ran a really good time figure, did all the donkey work out in front and just tired before staying on again. The time before that at Southwell again, behind Lucky One, was staying on extremely strongly before falling 2 out on good to soft ground. This step up in trip is definitely going to suit this horse. There's no doubt about that. And there's going to be a huge pace on in this race. You've got the likes of Mount Windsor, Sometimes Always, Press Your Luck, Hooper, Hudson de Grugy, One True. Nearly all of these like to be ridden prominently. So this is going to be run at a good clip. It's going to be testing some stamina. And I think if Paddy can just give Minella Tara one of Paddy's typical rides, this horse could run away with this contest off a mark of 118. 10-1 is a very, very big price, I think. 118 handicap debut. I think it wins Minella Tara 10-1. Nap.
Ooh, very good. Minella Tara then in the 250. Andrew, have you got anything as strong in there?
I've got 2 against the field, One True King and Sometimes Always. Now, the interesting thing about this race is that you've got horses who are going to be running on good ground, who've spent most of the winter running on deep ground, and particularly last time out. All these last time out winners on soft and heavy going are going to find things completely different here. Now,
you mean like Daryl's selection?
Exactly, and we all know that Southwell Hurdles form isn't worth a gob in a teacup, but
right. Where's my gavel to bang the table?
We hope that we're wrong about that. But we've got 2 horses here who need who certainly go well on decent ground. Now, Sometimes Always is particularly interesting for Ian Williams. He was denied a 4-timer when only 7th in the EBF final at Sandown last time. Now, that race massively favoured those who came from off the pace. I think we talked about the pace bias in the EBF final and the Imperial Cup. There's a really hard, they're really hard races to win from the front end, often just because of the size of the field, really, and how quick they go. And in finishing seventh, sometimes always is actually done best of those who are on the front end. So you can upgrade that performance. He's got form on a quicker surface. So he's around about 11-1. And One True King, I mean, he was 10th in the champion bumper behind Fernie Hollow last year. Did fourth best of the British trained runners. And then after needing his first hurdles run at Stratford last autumn, he's then sort of finished first, second and first in his next three starts. The second he should have won. They raced on the slowest part of the track at Cheltenham in a 19-runner handicap hurdle and didn't make use of his stamina. Since then, he's not really had his ground. And interesting, although they've run him a couple of times on soft ground, they pulled him out of his last intended start because conditions were deemed too soft. So now with good ground, I take Daryl's point, and the very good one he's made about the pace in this race. One True King and Sometimes Always tend to race on the front end. Hopefully one or t'other jockey will be a little bit more restrained and spot that and actually have a look at the newspaper and see there's plenty of other pace angles. And but perhaps don't present company accepted, Leonna, credit jockeys with too much intelligence. But I'm with I'm with One True King and Sometimes Always against the field here.
Maybe that's why I didn't ride more winners, because I'm so intelligent. It just didn't suit.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Don't quote me. Don't quote me saying that. I'll get absolutely hammered. So the 250 then, everyone's steering away from the top couple in the betting. One True King and Sometimes Always for Andrew against the field, and Minella, Tara for Daryl. All value as well in that 250. So do check that out. And then we've got a good mares race coming up, haven't we? A grade 2, the 325. Good looking race this, actually. Loads of horses in good form, and it was actually Marada that I thought looked a bit overpriced in here, especially the way the Skeltons are going along at the moment. And
you've done it again. You've stolen my thunder.
She won so easily last time, didn't she? But this is obviously a lot more on her plate, Andrew. The downside with Marada is that she's had a recent run 20 days ago, and if you go back to the last 10 years, I think those who raced within the last 4 weeks are just 1 from 66. That will be a slight concern. But of course, she's got the form on decent ground. And again, we've got a race where most of these have been, running on soft or heavy going, and all of a sudden they're going to find things very different here. 5 or 6 year olds have got a good record in the race, and you just back all the 5 or 6 year olds who've been off the track for more than 4 weeks and make a profit in this contest. So I mean, I'll be worried about Rose of Arcadia, the fact that her form's been on sort of deep ground, but it was a real minefield. And despite the worry about the recent run, I thought Marada, in terms of suitability, the underfoot conditions, was the one to side with here. But it was a race that I wasn't particularly keen on attacking from a punting point of view. Okay, and all those ones that lost having recent runs, they weren't trained by Dan Skelton either. So plenty of his horses seem to follow up quite quickly, don't they? But I like Marada too. Daryl?
Yeah, it was a third vote for Marada for me, so a triple penalty for that horse. Does slightly concern me that Harry Skelton's not on board though. Don't like it with Dan Skelton's horses when Harry's not on board. I think it's a sign in itself sometimes. But I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised that Marada's 9-1. That's for sure, because the run at Market Raisin behind Martello Sky was running a good time figure to suggest that they had both run up to a mark of around 130. And then she improved at Huntington next time to beat Pavlovsky, who went out and gave the form a boost next time. She won it very easily by 5.5 lengths in an even better time figure. So she's improving at a rate of knots, that's for sure. The step up in trip, I'm not entirely convinced about. So she's not a confident selection, but the ground is definitely in her favour. And Marada, to me, looks the most talented horse. And I know she's run up to a mark of 130. There won't be much more needed to win this race, I don't think. Marada.
And I suppose if stamina is a slight question mark, that if the ground is drying and continues to with the wind and stuff, that'll help, won't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, she's got every chance to get in the trip because of the ground. I wouldn't fancy her over 2 miles on soft ground either, to be honest with you. But she's got a lovely way of going about her racing and a high cruising speed and a nice turn of foot. So, yeah, she looks the most promising horse in the field to me. I'm just wondering why Harry Skelton's not on.
Yeah, it's an interesting angle. I'm just looking at what would have happened if you'd backed all of Dan Skelton's horses over the years that Harry hadn't ridden, and the short answer is you'd have done your absolute cobblers. So yeah, losing about £700 to SP. So yeah, that's maybe something to bear in mind.
Yeah, well, Marada 3 and out, so we'll see in that 3:25. Have you got any other fancies over jumps at Newbury, Daryl?
No, not at Newbury. Do you want a couple from Kelso?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Okay. Let's have a look. 135 Kelso, Borders handicap chase. I like Kitty's Light off a mark of 135. I think Christian Williams has been keeping this chase mark for a target. This horse has run over hurdles and in some jumper bumper races the last couple of times, but was third in the Badger Beers behind El Presente off a mark of 132. Is now rated 135. And the horse was hampered that day as well. You know, it was better than the bare result there, only beaten 3 1/4 lengths. Previously beat Sizing at midnight by 3 1/4 lengths at Exeter very easily off a mark of 123. This is a young horse, 5-year-old progressive. And I think it's the best handicapped horse in that particular race. I haven't got a price yet. Have you got a price there?
No.
Probably expecting around 5 to 1, something like that in a race like that. But yeah, Kitty's Light would be of interest at Kelso in the 135.
Yeah, 5 to 1.
Yeah, that sounds about right. In the 240, God, this horse is going to kill me, I think. Tommy's Oscar is running again off the same mark, 132. It's got a much weaker field than he had last time. Christopher Wood looks to be his only serious danger. I'm not entirely sure what happened at Kelso behind the shunter. Just didn't look to give his running at all. I'd be slightly concerned that a trip or 2 miles on good ground is probably a little bit on the short side for him. But I do think he's well handicapped, and I do think he's the best horse in the race. So it'd be interesting to see. He's getting absolutely tons of weight from Christopher Wood in the race. So Tommy's Oscar and Kitty's Light over at Kelso. But the one you want to focus on, I think, at Newbury is my Nat Minella Tara. Don't worry about Andy.
Selections from there or anywhere else? Andrew?
No strong opinions elsewhere. I did look at Navan on the flat and Wolverhampton, but nothing really stuck out. And going back to the Borders National, I do quite like Claude and Goldie for Sandy Forster. I put this real course expert who goes well when fresh, seems to handle any conditions. But I put him up as a bet when he won here last time. Well back that day, and maybe he can follow up.
Okay.
Andrew,
that's it. I was going to say that's it, unless you've got anything else.
Andrew, how many bets would you have in the Lincoln on obviously the big field race, but opening weekend of the flat season? Would you be being cautious, or would you be continuing?
No, not at all. If I've got horses that traditionally go well fresh and they haven't raced for a while, or I've got an opinion about the draw, or particularly if there is a strong headwind, then I'm going to lay everything that tends to race prominently and back the hold-up horses. And if you think there's a strong draw bias and you've got 22 runners and some firms are paying 6 or 7 places, if you can rule out the bottom third or the top third of the field, then all of a sudden you've got a massive edge there. Because if you're saying sort of 7 or 8 of the 22 runners can't win, then you're getting sort of 7 places about 14 or 15 runners. That's huge value. But it will depend, and kind of like let the first race or two go and then see what happens. So I couldn't tell you at this point, I'm afraid.
Ask again in another day.
Yeah, I will.
So Nap, Daryl, you've told me your Nap, haven't you?
Yeah. Can you remember it?
Remind me. Minella
Tara at Newbury off a handicap mark of 118. Could have any amount in hand now up to trip on handicap debut.
Andrew, Nap.
I'm going for Brunch in the Lincoln. Likes a sound surface, all the all-weather, doesn't like it bottomless.
That's a hard race to nap in. And my nap is from Navan randomly in the maiden Cocobanana. I thought ran 2 really good races over trips that were too short for the stack team. Goes up in trip, first one of the season. I've managed to find a price. It's 12, so hoping that sticks, which if it is, that's my nap of the weekend at Navan. So plenty of tips and naps from all over the place. As always, thanks for watching, guys and girls. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've obviously got the website as well with all those race cards and tips every single day from Daryl and Andrew. That's GG.CO.UK. All your shares, comments and questions are much appreciated, so do keep them coming in. We want you to get involved as well, and I hope you've enjoyed this weekend's show.